Happy New Year! As the Chicago Bears will mercifully end this 2024 regular season as they'll take on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field on Sunday in the regular season finale. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls will honor Derrick Rose against the New York Knicks tomorrow night. But first, they lost to the Washington Wizards, the terrible Washington Wizards, in our nation's capital on New Year's Day. In college football, the college football playoff continues with big dominating wins by Notre Dame and by Ohio State. In hockey, the Chicago Blackhawks got dominated by the St. Louis Blues on New Year's Eve in the Winter Classic. Should the NHL move the Winter Classic to New Year's Eve, we'll give you the details of that. And as the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, with her Week 18 NFL picks. That and a whole lot more in Second City Sports kicks off 2025, which starts right now. Welcome to the news edition of Second City Sports for 2025, our first show for the new year. You're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I am Sid the Kid, aka Sydney Brown. My partner, Miss Lakina McGee, will join me in just a second. If you want to follow me on via the show social media streams via the Twitter, X, and the IG, you can do so at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Don't forget to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, so Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support. Please comment, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends. We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not to our we strive against. We call a sports talk radio show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Yours truly or my partner Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll it or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to bill and bear boot. And she would also say, toodles. But before we begin, we must remind you, whether you're watching us live via the Facebook or YouTube page or checking us out on the replay, shout out to the replay gang. You know our motto, we will always, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 7 days a year. You know we will provide. And we will be providing you with the best sports content around right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. As we kick off this program, we'll give you our Bears and Packers preview coming up. We'll talk about the Bulls in their loss against the Washington Wizards on New Year's Eve, and they'll celebrate Derrick Rose tomorrow night against the Knicks. We'll give you our best Derrick Rose moments in a Bulls uniform. We'll talk about the college football playoff, and Christine the Queen Manika will join us to wrap up the show with our Week 18 NFL picks. And as usual, here comes the queen of Second City Sports, Miss Lakina McGee. Lakina, how are you today?
The darn camera didn't want to be great, so of course. But yeah, I'm here. How are you, Sid?
I'm doing good. We are live and in living color. I gave the folks the rundown about what we're going to talk about today. I guess we have to give the folks right now the Bears Packers preview. We'll do that coming up in just a minute. We'll talk about the Bulls right after the break in the NBA. Steph Curry goes off as usual, doing his personal best, and of course, kick it off hour number 2. We'll talk college football and a little bit baseball and the Winter Classic. Did you watch? We'll get into that. Of course, Christine the Queen Manika will return for our Week 18 NFL picks. And Lakina, I won't ask you now, but I know that the race between the three of us is getting pretty tight.
Yes, it is. It's only like a couple of games separating us, so it's going to come down to this last week. Yeah, she's coming in. Yeah, she's coming. Yeah, she's coming in early today because of course she also is the game broadcaster for the Windy City Bull up there in Sioux Falls. So she'll actually be coming on at 1. So to get her picks, to get her thoughts and stuff. I'm sure she was happy that her
Love it.
Irish yeah, so I think her Notre Dame fighting Irish dominated in the Sugar Bowl yesterday. So we'll talk about that and so much more. But first, Sid, yeah, we have to. Well, I guess on the bright side, thank God that this is the last game of the season for
Hmm.
the Bears because whatever. But the good news is that we get 4 games. Here, I guess here we get 4 games this week, so I guess because everything's kind of going down to the wire here now. It'll be interesting to see how the Packers play this because they can still play for seeding. They can't win a division, of course, but they can still play for
Hmm.
the seeding in the playoffs coming up. So they still got a lot to play for, and of course, Matt LaFleur is 11-0 now against the Bears since becoming head coach of the Packers.
Hmm.
So, and I think I think Jordan Love wants to kind of redeem himself from.
I'll pick up on the point what Lakina was saying about Jordan Love. Jordan Love, as we talked about all year, he's been injured. Oh, Lakina, you cut out for a minute. You was about to
Oh,
speak
sorry.
on about Jordan Love.
Oh no, you could. Oh no, I just want to say I'm sure he wants to redeem himself after
Mhm.
that first meeting. So, and also too, I guess Josh Jacobs with the hamstring. I know he's been bothered by the hammy, so we'll see if he plays. And the defense, I know Jair Alexander is done until in case the Packers get deeper in the playoffs. So yeah, so just want to finish your thought on that because I also want to know what the Bears mindset's going to be because I'm sure half of them are probably like halfway like thinking about like their off season and such.
As usual, but about the Bears, we'll get to them in just a minute. But just piggyback off your point about Jordan Love, we talked about him being injured all year with the growing injury suffered back early in the year against Jacksonville. Green Bay has been dependent on their running game in their defense. Their defense is much better than it was at this time last year. They're opportunistic defense, but they can pressure you up the middle, and they definitely can create turnovers via the interceptions. Of course, Caleb Williams, interceptionless streak came to an end last week. And Green Bay, like you said, they're still going to play for something. That I don't think they're going to treat this as a preseason game unless they blow the Bears out by halftime, which is very possible. But being realistic, the Packers are going to be sharp on all three phases of the game going into the playoffs. And so they're not going to have a week off. They're going to play. They're going to host a home game next weekend on wild card weekend. We'll get to that on our next shows coming up next week. But as far as the numbers coming into this game on Sunday, on offense, the Bears are ranked dead last, while the Packers are ranked 7th. Total defense, the Bears 25th, the Packers number 8. Passing, Packers at number 12, the Bears third from last at 29. And then team rushing, Bears are ranked 25th and the Packers are ranked 5th. As we just told you a minute ago, the Packers would like to run the ball well. You're going to get a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs. And for their defense, don't expect them to be soft against this Bears team that we all know that Caleb Williams, this is his development stage. And I know some people were talking about he shouldn't play this game. I said, yes, he should play this game because this is for him to get some more experience and get some more confidence going into next year, whoever the new head coach is. We know that the offensive line is trash. We know that they've not been using DeAndre Swift correctly all year long. They've been using him in spots and not consistently. As far as the Bears defense, they've been shot since the Washington game. I'm not going to get into what they should do against Jordan Love. Whatever they do against Jordan Love is not going to work. I expect a heavy dose of the running game for the Packers this Sunday.
You listen to Second City Sports. So sports, you got Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you. Josh Jacobs, a wrist injury for him. He was limited on yesterday, so we'll see if he's be able to play. So there, Christian Watson, the knee has been bothering him the last couple of weeks. He's also questionable for the Packers as well. And as far as the Bears are concerned, I mean, it's just one of those days where you wonder, like I said, well, we'll get into like all this stuff about Ryan Poles and the future coming up. Because I think, like we said on Monday, a lot of it is just secondhand. So it's really hard to believe, like, whatever rumors, like, Ben Johnson, oh, he might come in, but he wants to bring his own GM and blah, blah, blah. So for me, I just, like, unless someone, refutes, refutable, not saying they're not refutable, but, getting info second or third, like, counterproductive. So it just doesn't seem, seems kind of counterintuitive. But I do wonder though, like if the Bear again, it's a rivalry game. I know Jalen Johnson's the lone Bear to make it to the Pro Bowl. I mean, it'll be interesting to see like what they're you wonder like are they going to use him as bulletin board material? I guess what he's been saying. Maybe he should stop talking for a second. But yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, look, this game really. I'm going to put this game again on the pay no mind list because it's not. Like I said, it's not, there's really nothing for the Bears to play for except for pride. As for the Packers, like I said, they're still playing for seeding, so interesting to see how Matt LaFleur plays this and such. So, like I said, it's all going to be kind of like interested to see like how both these teams sort of approach this game.
And if you're the Bears, we've been saying this for weeks. You're not playing for a playoff spot. You're playing for your job. Whoever the new head coach is going to be next year, you need to impress them to send out a good tape. Whether you're playing for the team that you're currently employed by or some other team next year, you need to play your butt off, and you need to be professionals about it. Because the question we've been asking, Lakina, since early mid-November when Matt Eberflus was showing the door, are you playing for pride or are you playing for your individual statistics? And let's be honest here, the Bears have been playing for a vacation, to be honest here, and they've been playing on their own agendas. Will this game against the Packers help them turn around and be professionals? I'm not sure. You would hope, but as we talked about for the last few weeks, DJ Moore, whether he meant it sarcastically or he was telling the truth, I'm just looking forward to a vacation. We know the Bears as a team have been looking forward to a vacation ever since Eberflus was showing the door after Thanksgiving. So, do I trust the Bears to be professionals? I want to say yes, but realistically, the way this team has been playing, I will go ahead and say no. I know that Jalen Johnson said bleep the Packers earlier this week, and he made it on the Pro Bowl based on reputation. Me personally, I don't think he's had a great year, but that's just me. But with that being said, do I expect the Bears to compete in this game? No, I really don't know. If they happen to win, I'll be happy for like 2 seconds. But at the end of the day, it's not going to really mean anything. You're going to have to start all over again with the new coaching staff. And as I told you the last couple weeks again, I'm getting 2022, 2023 White Sox vibes. Maybe the Bears, whoever the new coach is going to be in the next few weeks or perhaps months, they're going to have some hard decisions to make. And after they give all the evidence, look at all the game film, some of those players that we thought they was going to have big years, I think they was going to be part of his future, they may be gone. I know we'll get into that in future shows, but for those players that we think they're going to be here for a long haul, this may be the last game in a Bears uniform.
In closing, I think I kind of feel like, okay, let's see how these Bears play. We heard, if you heard Caleb in his interview with our girl Caitlin Sharker over at WGN Sports on their GN Sports nightly show last night. He said that he was going to try to go all in. So, it'll be interesting to see what he does. How, like I said, how the Packers approach this game and how the Bears approach this game, because there's a lot of unknowns here because the Bears have not played since Thursday. So we'll just see how they should be well rested. But again, you never really know what this Bears squad. So it's all going to depend on what they do, what they say, what they do is totally different things. Like I said, I'm with you. I think Jalen Johnson only got in the Pro Bowl because of his name and reputation. He likes to talk. So, and I'm sure the Packers would love to kind of continue that win streak against the Bears. So we'll see. It's gonna, it's gonna be one of those games you're just not gonna want to know.
I was going to get ready to say this may be a laugh fest, but I'm with you. I will have this game on in the background. I'll watch it later. Worst secret kept. I'll watch it later. How much I don't know, but we have to watch it so we can give you guys our thoughts on these games. If we weren't doing what we were doing, we would be paying attention to this at all? No, let's be honest here. But we love what we do. We love entertaining you guys, informing you, and giving you guys our opinions on things. And this coming Sunday will not be any different. But Lakina, whatever happens, I'm just going into it like this. Whatever happens, happens. I know the Bears are not playing for the playoffs. I'm looking at some individual players who are going to be part of this the team going forward. Some people say it's not a full rebuild. Whatever it is, whoever the new coach is going to be some sort of rebuild because these group of players, for whatever reason, are not a good mesh. And you may have to clean house deeper than what people anticipated. It's definitely coming to the year.
All right, so enough of that. Enough of all that. Well, we'll get back to the Bears and Packers later when we do our picks. At the top of the hour with our girl Christine from Manika for KXRB. In the meantime, we'll go to hard NBA as the Bulls lose a bad, against the Wizards. Ugh. And D Rose is, getting set to get his number retired, but unfortunately, most Chicago fans will not be able to see it. We'll tell you why. Also, too, Steph shows a little bit of the old Steph. Coming up. So a lot to do still. Lakina McGee, sitting around Second City Sports on Sports Chicago NBA Talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the first show for the new year in 2025. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
If you have any questions or comments for us or during our show for today, like our guy, Mr. Chris Foster, thank you for checking in, my man. Make sure you tell your friends about us and keep those thoughtful comments about Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, any other subjects we're talking about today coming. You could do like what Chris Foster did and hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Off to the NBA we go here as the Bulls laid let's just say they laid a humongous egg in DC as they lose to the Wizards 125-107. Zach had 32 points, but it was a struggle for the Bulls, especially the 3-point line. Incidentally, whenever they don't shoot well from the three, they lose. I think they lost all but one. So, unfortunately, they were chucking up threes. The problem is that they weren't hitting. They only hit 14 of the 47 threes that they that they attempted. So, not a good look for the Bulls, and a kind of unfortunately par for the course, I guess.
And Jordan Poole did not give DC fans free air conditioning. Go figure. he put in 30 points for the Washington Wizards. He had a good game as well. And their bench had three guys in double figures, and the Bulls bench gave you nothing. What does that tell you? But going back to the Bulls for just a moment, Lakina, I know Josh Giddey has been back from injuries, trying to get his timing back. He only had 6 points and 6 rebounds. Zach LaVine, as you mentioned, it was a hard 32 points, but he was the only one that was doing anything for the Bulls offensively. P. Will had 7 points and 3 rebounds. That's not going to get it done. Nikolai Vucevic, he still continues to put up numbers, 12 points, 14 rebounds. Just like Zach LaVine, Nikolai Vucevic is up in his trade value potentially. So we'll see what happens there. Kobe White had a quiet night, 17 points. He was 2 for 6 from downtown. He really had fatigue there, especially in that second half. But in that fourth quarter, Lakina, the problems that this Bulls team has had throughout the last few years, their interior defense has been terrible, and it showed as it wreaked its ugly head the other night with the Wizards going off in that fourth quarter. The game was close throughout, but in that fourth quarter, the Wizards they drove through the lane like it was nobody's business. They were already hitting their shots through the outside, and like you said, when you're not hitting your shots from the outside via the three, you're going to lose every time. Bad defense plus bad three-point shooting equals losses, and that's what's been the Bulls' story this season.
Yeah, like I said, it's just kind of like a story there. Now they are going to be hosting the Knicks tomorrow night over at the UC, and of course D Rose it'll be D Rose night at the UC tomorrow, as he'll have his number retired. They're going to do all types of like pomps and circumstance. Unfortunately, well, for one, it is going to be aired nationally on NBA TV. Unfortunately, it'll be blacked out here in Chicago. Oh, and it's only on CHSN, so most of us will not be able to watch it. So I'm hoping that the Bulls, Twitter account at least live stream it. I doubt it, but yeah, I mean, it's so this is another one of those things where you're just like, really, okay, but yeah, and again, like he also played for the Knicks as well, of course, with Coach Tibbs. So it's going to be interesting to see how like the mindset is and everything else. So it should put on a good show at the UC for the folks.
My good and 15-year-old Nintendo works, so I'll be able to watch it, thank goodness. But as we mentioned, we don't have to go through it again. But the carriage battles between Xfinity, Comcast, and CHSN. Maybe we'll have a surprise by tomorrow night. We'll be on Xfinity, but I doubt that. But as far as tomorrow night is concerned, like I said, we'll get into this more with Christine next hour. But hopefully the Bulls will have a surprise announcement that they'll actually retire his number. I'm talking about Derrick Rose. Hopefully that'll happen. I know they're going to have a beautiful video tribute. No, I know that Neil Funk, who retired almost a decade ago, he's going to be calling the game in place of Adam Mead for tomorrow night. So the Neil Funk and Stacey King show will be back. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And we'll see what other surprises that the Bulls will have up their sleeves. So I hope, and I know there's going to be a great ceremony tomorrow night. And Derrick Rose deserves all the flowers that he's going to receive, and that he has received so far since he's announced his retirement. We're not going to get into it here, but through all the ups and downs that he had here in Chicago with the injuries and the criticism behind not him returning soon enough and all that is nullified. That he's one of the best players in franchise history, and he should be honored as that.
So we'll be interested to see if what the Bulls, how much the emotion is going to be. Of course, he's also going to be, the Knicks, and of course, Knicks will actually have a game prior to that, so they might be catching a good time. They've won like 9 in a row, but again, they have a game tonight against OKC, so we'll be interested maybe the Bulls will catch it because it's going to be a second of a back-to-back for the Knicks. So we'll see if they can, the Bulls can catch him. Perhaps maybe put on a show for D Rose. I know Joakim Noah is there too. So yeah, we'll be able to see if you do something for them and the fans. Now the rest of the schedule for the NBA is concerned. LeBron had 38 points. It was like 40-year-old LeBron still got it, as The Lakers beat the Blazers. Golden State 139-105. Steph, being Steph, of course, had 30 points, including 6 3-pointers that he hit, and it was a big fourth quarter for him and the Warriors because it was kind of a back and battle for a little bit. But yeah, they pulled away in the second half. This actually after Philadelphia, they've had a nice had a nice little run here and went 9-1 after slow start, but 8 for 8 for Mr. Curry. So hard for anybody to beat the Warriors when he's shooting like that.
Yeah, Steph Curry, as Larry Beal, our new friend from ABC7 out there in the Bay Area, talked about, you're going to have special performances with Steph Curry. He's not the player that he once was, but he still can give you some great moments, great moments here and there. And last night was one of them. If you watch the highlights or watch the game in its entirety last night, I know some people couldn't because it was on so late and it was a blowout from the word go. But this is the reason why that Steph Curry is not the best shooter of all time, because he shoots it at a rapid pace and he shoots it consistently as well. As far as the actual game is concerned, I like some of the pieces that the Warriors have. Dennis Schroeder, a new veteran they just added on the team this year. He had some big buckets last night. You know what you're going to get out of Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins. He had a nice game last night. Also, too, Jonathan Kuminga had some big buckets last night, especially from three. That Jackson Davis kid, Lakina, did you check out that dunk he had early in the game? I think it was over in beat.
That. Yep.
That left-handed dunk, that was so nasty. And that was one of the best plays of that ball game. But the Warriors, we know they're an average team at best, but can they catch lightning in the bottle like they did to start early in the year? It remains to be seen.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Warriors make any moves for the trade deadline. Now, sticking with the games from last night, OKC pulled away from the Clippers, 116-98. SGA had 29 points. Cam Johnson with 26 as the Nets held off the Bucks. Tatum with 33 points as the Celtics beat the T-Wolves. I watched a little bit of this game. It was the first game of the NBA on TNT doubleheaders return, and just when we thought that Minnesota, they put a little bit of a run, but once the Celtics, start hitting their shots, they're definitely tough to beat. When it got down to like maybe 8, Celtics pull off a big shot, whether it's Tatum or Pritchard, like just too much Celtics in that game against the T-Wolves.
Yeah, the Timberwolves actually took a page out of the Celtics playbook, getting hot from three, especially in that second half. But when you have a guy or two that you can go get a bucket down the stretch when the shot clock goes down or when times get tough, the Boston Celtics have that. I know people yelling at me, well, Minnesota has it, Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards doesn't have it going on, who else is going to beat? And right now, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to have to find that. Julius Randle has had a nice recent stretch, but who's going to be that second guy to go get a bucket if Anthony Edwards has a bad shooting night? On the flip side for the Celtics, as you mentioned, you saw it last night, Jason Tatum was that guy. Whenever the Celtics need a big bucket to disrupt the Minnesota run, he did that last night. Same thing with Jaylen Brown. Don't forget about Sam Hauser, the second-year guy coming off the bench. The Boston's bench has actually improved in small steps this year. So when the Celtics, we all know they shoot the most three-point attempts in the league, and also the best three-point shooting team in terms of percentage in the league. We have it going on like that, and plus a guy that can go get you a basket when things break down. That's what a great team looks like, and you saw that last night.
And incidentally, Anthony Edwards did have a chance to tie it with with about 1.2 left, but unfortunately, I think the shot he hit was a little bit too. I think he shot a little bit too hard. I think he also rushed it too, so I think that's probably why they weren't able to force overtime. Indiana, pull away from Miami by 13. Sacramento, they're putting a little bit of a nice show there. It says with Christie now the interim, 113-107 over Philadelphia. Denver.
Just for Wednesday,
yes, and Denver beat Atlanta 139-120. Another triple double from Mr. Nikola Jokic, and he's the first player to get a triple double. He only played like 28 minutes. He actually sat out the fourth quarter, I should say. So no need for that. Houston upset Dallas 110-99. Toronto beat the Nets. It's somewhat a surprise. Scotty Barnes had a season high 33. Cat had 31 as the Knicks had no trouble with Utah. Miami beat New Orleans, and of course, the Wizards beating the Bulls, and Detroit beat Orlando. But it looks like Jaden Ivey is going to be out for a while. He injured his knee, and he actually ended up having a fractured fibula, so he's going to be gone for a while. So yeah, tough news. It was unfortunate too because he had been playing very well. Had 22 points leading the way for the Pistons before he got hurt.
Yeah, the former Purdue Boilermakers standout. I think this is year number 3 for him in the Pistons uniform. I actually saw the play. He collided with a teammate, and his leg and his knee turned the wrong way. Well wishes to him and his speedy recovery. I know some people talked about his future in the Pistons uniform coming to this year. As you mentioned, he's been one of the most important and most improved players in the league, and that's one of the reasons why the Pistons are off to a surprising start. Yes, they have the same record, just about the same record as the Chicago Bulls, but people expected the Pistons still to be terrible, but they are turning heads this year. And will they be in the play-in? Probably not. I don't think they were coming into the year anyway, but they were one of those up-and-coming teams, and this injury just set them back even further. I want to get into this, Lakina. As you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Sid Lakina here with you, talking Bulls and NBA. This story's been coming out over the last 24, 48 hours. You mentioned with the Miami Heat, they're 1-1 in their last 2 games. You mentioned they lost to the Pacers last night at home, but on Wednesday, on New Year's Day, they beat the New Orleans Pelicans by double digits. Jimmy Butler, he wants out of Miami. Looks like he may get his wish. What team or teams should be calling for his services? Calling Pat Riley for his services right now?
Yeah, I'm wondering who would be a good fit. I think maybe I'm trying to think. Could he go to Boston? I don't know. Like I said, they may not have anything to give to Miami, so that's going to be interesting there. Maybe I guess Phoenix, but like I said, they don't have anything either. So unfortunately, I don't think they have any picks. Yeah, so he can't go to Phoenix. Warriors, maybe they've got some capital. Let's see here. I know OKC's got a lot of picks, so maybe you traded a couple of those first round picks for Jimmy Butler. Maybe a second, maybe a first or a second rounder for Mr. Butler. Let's see here. Who could actually use him? The Knicks, I don't think really have anything of value. Houston, I guess maybe you could go to Houston, perhaps maybe given the veteran presence. Let's see. No, maybe not Milwaukee. Cleveland, I really don't think doesn't really have anything. Denver, Dallas, maybe, with Luka being out. The Clippers, I don't think they really don't have anything. So yeah, I think there's only like maybe two or three teams that you probably realistically say has a chance, perhaps maybe landing Butler.
Couple of those Western Conference teams you just mentioned, I want to touch on real fast. The Houston Rockets, I think they may put up the best package for Jimmy Butler because they still have a few picks they can dangle out here and there, and they got one of the best young rosters in the league, just like OKC. I'll get to OKC in a minute, but I think you could, if you're Houston, you could package up a couple of picks, a couple of players, and maybe a first round pick, a conditional first round pick, and maybe a first round pick and a conditional draft pick in a couple of players there. I think they may get a deal done for Oklahoma City. Yes, we watched them over the last couple of years have a great chemistry both on and off the court. And I'm not saying that Jimmy Butler is the cancer because that's not true, but with a veteran savvy player like him, if you're Oklahoma City's GM Sam Presti, do you really want to disrupt that chemistry? Yes, Jimmy Butler would give OKC a boost to being really a championship team with that veteran that can kind of lead those young guys. But we all know Jimmy is his own man. But do you risk turning over some of your leaves to win right now if you OKC? Is Jimmy Butler that guy who is going to take you over the top?
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the number one question there. So, like I said, to be continued with this one because it's going to be interesting to see what transpires, down the line, who's going to trade for whom. So we'll see what happens here. Now, off to Tuesday's games, New Year's Eve games, I should say. You got the Cavs beat the Lakers. Memphis, John Morant is still out with that elbow. They were able to beat the Suns by 5. OKC beat Minnesota. San Antonio, no trouble with the Clippers. Milwaukee beat Indiana. And Boston, no trouble with Toronto as 23 points for Jason Tatum, but all 5 stars were in double figures for the Celtics as they beat Toronto by 54. Ugh.
Yeah, we know Toronto's in a rebuild. In Boston, they did what they had to do. This is what you had to do against sub 500 teams. Get out there with very few, with little to no injuries, and basically run your offense and be precise and just hammer the team in submission like that.
To Monday's game, Sacramento beat Dallas. De'Aaron Fox had 33, so Sacramento's been playing pretty well since the coaching change. Philadelphia, no trouble with Portland. Cleveland beat Golden State. Darius Garland had 25 there. 36 points from Mr. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, I should say, as the Nuggets had no trouble with Utah. Clippers held off New Orleans. Norman Powell had 35. Cat had 32 as the Knicks beat the Wizards, and the Bulls needed overtime, but they beat Charlotte. Basketball. I don't know if anybody wanted 5 more minutes of that, but they did beat Portland. So I guess that's the important thing.
Yeah, but their loss against the Wizards, unfortunately, negates what they did on Monday on the road at Charlotte. Before we get to this schedule, I want to talk to you about Joel Embiid, Lakina. I know he sat out Wednesday's game against Sacramento, which the Sixers collapsed, especially in that fourth quarter. You mentioned Sacramento playing much better ever since Doug Christie has been named interim head coach. They lose to the Warriors last night. I'm talking about Philadelphia. Embiid and Paul George were both on the floor. Paul George was in foul trouble. He really couldn't get it going. The whole team could get it going as far as shooting from the outside. And there's been rumblings there in the city of brotherly love. And I think it's going to continue through the trade deadline. Maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't. But if you're Philadelphia, do you really consider trading Joel Embiid?
Yeah, that's kind of like another $1 million question. So they've actually said, like I said, with those excepting those last couple of games, they actually been playing very well. I'm talking about Philadelphia. So right now, Philly is like just about a game back. On market, they're behind the Bulls for the play-in. So if they're 13-19, I mean, we've seen weird things happen, especially in the East. So it'll be interesting to see like what's going to be. I would say it'll be interesting to see where they are by the trade deadline. If they're well within like that 7 to 10 range, which it could be, going into the All-Star break, I could probably see perhaps maybe trade Embiid. But if they're not, then I guess who would you trade them for, and what stuff could you get? I don't think the Sixers would get anything of value for him if they do decide to trade him.
I'm kind of with you on that. It's for superstar players like that, and I think it just got an extension too over the last year or so. So that's really going to be tough. Salaries will have to match. So I think I know that's going to be tough. But like you said, whoever has the closest package, whoever team has the closest package, will it be the best fit for Embiid? I don't know. So and that's why it's really hard to trade for stars, because you're really not going to get that true value via trade in return. Now, like we always say, stay tuned. We'll keep you updated with all the latest rumors and hot meal stories from around the league right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. And now into the schedule for this weekend's games. The NBA will start out with tonight, January 3rd. The Charlotte Hornets play the Detroit Pistons. Of course, with Jalen Ives from the other night. Best wishes to other games for tonight. Orlando will visit Toronto to take on the Raptors. The Celtics and the Rockets will do battle in H-Town. That should be a good one. Like, maybe a possible NBA Finals preview. You never know.
Should be fun.
Other games tonight: Washington, New Orleans. Then the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's part of the TV tonight. Cleveland will visit Dallas. That should be a good one, but unfortunately, Luka will not play, but it still should be an entertaining game for the Kings. And the second game of the NBA TV doubleheader tonight, Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks will visit LeBron James Lakers at 9:30.
Saturday. Tomorrow, you got Philadelphia and Brooklyn. You got Minnesota and Detroit. Phoenix starts their East Coast trip against Indiana. Utah and Miami. And the Knicks and the Bulls, you'll see part of that D-Rose ceremony, just not in Chicago because it'll be blacked out. Portland and Milwaukee, Denver and San Antonio, Jokic versus Wemby. That should be a fun one. down there in San Antonio. Memphis and Golden State and Atlanta, they stay in Los Angeles. They go a little bit further west as they face the Clippers. That'll be their second game of the NBA TV doubleheader.
Sunday. Your schedule looks like this. Boston will continue their West Coast road trip. They'll visit OKC to take on the Thunder. Also, to Charlotte, a disappointing year so far for them. They'll face the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 29-4 as of this live broadcast. New Orleans will visit Washington. Two bad teams. If anybody has to watch that with Lakina, you have to pay them to watch that. Those two terrible teams. Right now, the rest of the Sunday night schedule looks like this. Utah will face Orlando. The Lakers will start their road trip. They'll face the Houston Rockets. That should be fun. And the Sacramento Kings will play the Golden State Warriors. So that's your schedule for Sunday and for the weekend in the NBA.
All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. Lakina McGee, Steve Brown with you. Well, as we wait for our girl Christine Manika from KXRB to join us for her first appearance of the new year, a little college hoops as conference play is now in full swing for most of the D1 level. Illinois got a nice win in Eugene against Oregon, 109-77. Trey White had 20 points, was a season high for him. So a nice win for Illinois down there, and not a very easy place to play up there at Eugene. But Brett Underwood and his guys were able to pull it out.
Yeah, I know Oregon's not that well. Oregon is actually good this year, I should say, with 12-2. I'm thinking about their football team. We'll get to them next hour. But for Illinois, I know we talked about them having that tough loss a couple of weeks ago at home against Tennessee, the number one team in the country ranked at the time. But the Fighting Illini has really turned it around, especially with their three-point shooting. Their three-point shooting was excellent last night. They shot it at a 55% clip. And also, too, with their rebounding, they had a plus 12 advantage, 43-31 over Oregon. So, and also too, with their largest lead being at 32, with all cylinders clicking like that, Lakina, no team can stop you. And that's what happened with the Fighting Illini last night. We all know they need to shoot the ball well, just like the Bulls, for them to win. But defense is going to be the name of the game here for the Fighting Illini going forward as we really get into Big Ten play, because we mentioned about all the other teams. Michigan's being a surprise team this year. Ohio State looks like they're going to be there for the long haul. You know about Wisconsin. You know about Minnesota. So let's see. We know the Illini have the talent all around, but I want to see them be tougher on defense. I know with the exception of last night, I want to see them be tougher, especially against those big top teams in the Big Ten as we go along throughout this schedule this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do have a tough schedule this weekend. We'll get to that in a second. Gonzaga no trouble with Portland as they start West Coast Conference play. Purdue beat Minnesota. Memphis with a nice win against FAU. Northwestern lose to Penn State by 4. A tough loss for them. 20 points for Zach Hicks. Brooks Braunheiser had 20. But yeah, they just couldn't get going in the 3-point range. So if you took the over on that game, you had a nice showing there. Illinois State beats Murray State in the Missouri Valley Conference. Indiana beat Rutgers by 10. SIU of Edwardsville beat Western Illinois. And Maryland beat Washington. I saw a little bit of that game once that Illinois-Oregon game was kind of wrapped up. So I went to this game and nice big shots by Illinois, Maryland late in that game. Now to Wednesday's matchups, DePaul kept it close for a little bit against the defending champ UConn, but too much UConn, as they lose to them there. Still for their first win in Big East. So I'm talking about DePaul. They're now 0-3. BC beat Miami. Pittsburgh beat Cal in ACC play. Evansville beats SIU. UIC with a nice win against Drake. They gave Drake their first loss of the season.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so very nice showing by that Flame squad. I believe they're 9-3, and I believe, of course, Robert Esson, I should say, his first year with the program. So far, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, shout out our guy Jay Hood from ESPN 1000 in Chicago. He's the voice of USC Flames basketball. I know he had fun. I saw some of his stuff on his social media regarding that last game. So hopefully USC can keep it going.
Okay, Louisville beats North Carolina, bad loss for the Tar Heels. Bradley needed overtime, but they edged out Indiana State. Valpo beats Missouri State, and Northern Iowa beats Belmont. Now, this weekend's games, there should be a good. Like I said, you got conference play in full swing here. Now, first off, oh shoot, the things not cooperating with me there. The Friday slate, Chicago State meets Wagner. Michigan State and Ohio State, that should be a good one. That's going to be on the Big Fox Network. Xavier meets Georgetown on CBS Sports Network. Creighton, who had a nice win against St. John's on Wednesday, they face Marquette. St. Joe's meets St. Louis. That's going to be at ESPN2 at 8. At 10 o'clock, you got Nevada and New Mexico on FS1 in the Mountain West. Now you have Saturday's matchups here. You got Florida and Kentucky. That should be a good one. At an early matchup at Rupp Arena at 10 a.m. on ESPN. So a nice early, late morning, early afternoon slate there. Georgia meets number 24 Ole Miss. That's going to be on SC Network at 11. North Carolina, Notre Dame at CBS and Paramount Plus. That should be a good one. DePaul will try to get their first Big East conference win of the season. They face FS1 and Villanova on FS1. Arkansas and Tennessee. That should be a good one on ESPN. Let's see. Oh, another good one here. CBS. You got Baylor and Iowa State. That should be a good one at 1 o'clock on CBS. BYU and number 14 Houston on ESPN Plus. UCLA and Nebraska. Big Ten matchup. Again, welcome to College Sports in 2025. That's going to be on the Big Fox Network. South Carolina and Mississippi State. Let's see here. Butler and St. John's at 1 o'clock on FS1. Arizona and Cincinnati. Arizona making big news getting Bryce James, the LeBron's youngest son. He's going to Arizona playing for Tommy Floyd and the Wildcats. That's going to be on ESPN2 as they face Cincinnati. Duke and SMU, that should be a good one at 1:15. That's the CW game of the week. WGN 9 here for those who are scoring at home. Mizzou and Auburn. That's on SEC Network. San Diego State and Boise State, CBS at 3 o'clock. Let's see here.
Okay, and for wrapping up Saturday's schedule, Oklahoma at Alabama. That's at 5 p.m. on the SEC Network. Gonzaga and LMU. That's on ESPN Plus at 8 o'clock. For Sunday's games locally, number 22, the Final Lineup will stay out on the West Coast. They'll face the Washington Huskies. That's at 3 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. But before then, at 1 o'clock on Sunday, during the Bears game, I'll probably be watching this instead of the Bears and having this on in the background. Northwestern, a tough game against number 20 Purdue on the road. That's going to be a good test for both teams. Purdue's improving this year. Northwestern, hopefully they can get back on track. That's at 1 o'clock on Sunday during the Bears game on Big Ten Network. And we have Maryland versus number 9 Oregon at 3 p.m. on Peacock.
Get Kansas at UCF. Kansas off their loss in West Virginia from Tuesday. That's actually the West Virginia's first win at Fog Allen. Go figure with that one. That's going to be on ESPN Plus. Southern Illinois State is going to be on ESPN Plus. North Texas and Memphis. That's at 4 o'clock on ESPN. And as your schedule. Oh, and Providence meets UConn. That's going to be at 1 o'clock on NBC. And Indiana and Penn State will face each other on the Big Ten Network. And as your schedule for this weekend in college hoops.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun. The Second City Sports first show for the new year continues with our girl for the entire second hour, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. You're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Let's not waste any time. We only have her, not for the whole hour, but for this segment anyway. This is our first appearance of the new year. We'd like to wish you and her and the rest of our family a happy new year 2025. She's our girl, your girl, from KXRB'S Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Chicago's very own Miss Christine the Queen Manika.
Yay!
What's going on, Christine? Happy New Year.
Hello. Happy New Year to you guys too. How's it going?
Oh, good. It's going. You know, glad to have you back with at least just for a few minutes here. Now, how was your trip to Hawaii and Los Angeles? Oh, well, Southern California, I should say.
Yeah, it was a well-needed vacation. I actually was telling people that I actually went on a vacation because I don't get to do tropical vacations very often. So that was a nice change. And I didn't do anything. I relaxed and I enjoyed myself and I didn't worry about anything. So it was nice. Very, very much needed.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Now, so I know we got a lot to talk to you about. So let's get to it now. First, with everyone is within 5 games. Christy, you actually gained a game on me, and Sid, you're only about 3 games back. So it all comes down to this final week. So it'll be for all the marbles, folks. So it's exciting. So we'll see.
I gained 2 games of both of you last week.
Yes, you did. Yeah. So, but even still, I mean, like, it's this how we want it, getting down to a wire here. So, we'll see, this last week. Now, it's all AFC North on Saturday tomorrow. So, first, you got the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens still got a shot to get the number 2 seed, and also they want to perhaps maybe get revenge from that early loss, earlier this season. So, Sid, we'll start with you on this one.
Lamar Jackson is playing for a possible MVP, and the Ravens, you mentioned, they're playing for a number 2 seed, and number 3, they're playing for revenge from early in the year. There's nothing else to be said. I'm going with Baltimore here. They're at home. As Christine the Queen would say, that crowd goes raving wild, and so they're going to do that tomorrow. The Baltimore Ravens are favored by 20 at home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Sid. Just the Ravens. It's a pretty easy pick for me, especially since the Browns are a way different team than what they were to start off. And the Ravens want that number 2 spot. So I'm going to go with Baltimore.
Short and sweet Baltimore, like I said. I mean, they still got, like I said, they still got a lot to play for. They want that number 2 seed, be able to host a playoff game and still also win a division. So that's even better for them. So I guess it's gonna be a totally different mindset than their first meeting. Speaking of, we got the Bengals and the Steelers now. The Bengals need a win and a whole lot of help, while the Steelers need, in order to win a division, they gotta hope that Baltimore loses early on, and they gotta take care of business against Cincy. So, Christine, you start this one for us.
I think it's the Bengals. I think Joe Money is finding his stride later on in the season. Now, do they need additional help like along the way for this to become a reality to be in the playoffs? Yeah, but it's not totally impossible. And what a way to make a staple then on a rival to get the win. So I think the Bengals for this one.
Sid?
Let me hop on that Cincinnati train as well. I'm going with the Bengals. As I told you guys last week, they're going to beat the Denver Broncos. Sorry, Christine, to you and your husband. I'm not going to rub it in. I know he's feeling bad right now, but
it was a good game. Close
been
enough.
on the roll for the last
it was
month and a half. Yes, it was. So Cincinnati's been on the roll. I think they'll continue in here. Pittsburgh has been a bunch of frauds for the last few weeks, so I'm going with Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I gotta go with you guys on Cincy. I mean, I went against him in that Denver game. I probably shouldn't have. Well, it turns out I did regret that because I lost ground there. But yeah, I think Cincinnati. I think they're playing well at the right time. I think Pittsburgh, I should say, they're kind of starting to fall off a little bit. Not a good time for that to happen. So yeah, we're picking Cincinnati for this one now. In the first game of the Sunday games, the new games, you got the Panthers and the Falcons. The Falcons have to win this game, and we'll get to Tampa Bay in a second. But yeah, they basically just got to take care of business in order to still have a shot in the NFC South. So, Sid, you start this one.
Michael Penix Jr. had a great performance last week on the road last Sunday night in Washington before Jalen Daniels decided to put on the cape and ride it home with the Washington Commanders with that overtime win. The Falcons, they should take care of business here. Will they get help? We'll give you that answer in just a second. But I think the Falcons will do their part. They'll finish the year at 9-8. They'll take care of the Panthers. Atlanta's currently favored by 7.5 at home.
Like I said, when the Falcons got Penix, I'm excited for him, but at the same time, Kirk Cousins is kind of getting screwed over in that deal. And that's what ended up happening, unfortunately, this season. I'm still very excited for Penix and what the future holds for him. I think he's a great quarterback. And I think the Falcons should get this win after, having a tough loss. Now they're playing angry.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with angry Falcons. So I got Atlanta too. I think the Panthers will cover. I think it might be a little bit closer. So we'll see what happens there. Now you got the NFC East. You got the Commanders and the Cowboys. The Cowboys got the best of Commanders in their early meaning back in late November. The Commanders still have a shot, perhaps maybe hosting a playoff game. So they still got a lot to play for. They want their revenge. So I'm picking Washington. I give Dallas credit for not rolling over, but yeah, I just don't think. I think Washington will do just enough. I think they still remember that matchup from about a month ago. So I think Washington will get their revenge. I'm picking the Commanders.
I give Washington a lot of credit for what they've overcome this past year. And it's the same thing to Dallas, too, especially with multiple players being injured like Dak Prescott. Cooper Rush has been holding his own. I really think he's a strong second-string starting quarterback. I think he's been looking great. Unfortunately, the Cowboys kind of lost themselves in the moment. I can't say the other word because it's not nice, but they did not do great things last week. But I think the Commanders have a chance to beat them. But the Cowboys could be playing angry too. So I can see them just being the season spoiler for the Commanders and getting the win. But for now, I'm sticking with Washington.
Give me Washington. They're favored by 6.5 on the road.
Okay. You got the AFC South. You got the Jaguars and the Colts. The Colts with a bad loss, and now they're out of the playoffs. The Jaguars, Well, that's a whole different conversation with them. So, Christine, you start this one for us.
This is just an ugly game, just straight up awful. And I feel bad for the Colts fans because it seems like they always have hope for the future. And then it just kind of tumbles down, similar to what it's like being a Bears fan. But at least we see it coming, where the Colts fans, I feel like, have been blindsided by this season, especially with so much hope and so much, attached to the season with Anthony Richardson being his first full entire NFL season. And when you whine and complain and when you hurt yourself a little bit, the fans are going to turn on you really quick. Now, the Jaguars, they're just bad. And I feel bad for everyone involved with that organization. It's like Trevor Lawrence, too. It just hasn't really clicked with him fully. But I'm going to go with the Jags just because nobody has anything to lose, and I bet the Colts want a better draft position. So I'm gonna say the Jags.
Give me the Colts. They're favored by 5 at home.
Yeah, same thing. I feel like the Colts, I think they want to at least try to win it, and for even nothing else for pride. So we'll see what happens there. Now, in the AFC East, the Bills are pretty much locked up the number 2 seed. Well, they still need to win this game to perhaps be locked in at the number 2 seed. So they still got a lot to play for. Josh Allen, although Sean Madura did say that he might be limited, especially since he's having a little bit banged up. So, but they playing the Patriots. I know the Patriots, they did come a close for early on just a couple weeks ago, but I think Buffalo will do just enough to win this game. I don't know, like I said, they may not look good doing it, but I think Buffalo will do just enough to win it there in Foxborough.
I think regardless of how Josh Allen is feeling during the game, they're still going to pull out the win. And I'm sure he's done enough recuperation prior to this game on Sunday. And who knows, he may just be in for the first half and then out the second half, depending on how the score is going. But I'd say the Bills should have this one pretty easily.
I think Christine's on to something because remember, the Bills do not have the next week off, unlike Kansas City does. So they had to be careful here. How they're going to play this with Josh Allen. But I think the Bills have enough talent to win this game. Christine, you talking about Jacksonville and Indianapolis playing for a draft pick. We all know New England's playing for the draft pick. So the Bills are going to take care of business here. They're favored by 2.5.
All right, here, intriguing. Well, I guess if you don't want to call it that intriguing, but you got the Giants and the Eagles in the NFC East. Eagles still have a shot at the number 2 seed, but they're going to need a whole lot of help. So they basically got to take care of business. It looks like Hurst is going to be out again. I think they've been a little bit banged up, so they may take it easy a little bit. The Giants, know they had their surprise win against Indy, but I don't know if they'll be able to do anything else with it. I think Philadelphia. It may not be pretty, like I said, but they'll do just enough to win. I'm picking Philadelphia.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants somehow win this game just to be the season spoiler, especially after last week as well. With the Eagles, it's kind of interesting. I expect Hurts to be out for this game, and that's no surprise there. But what's surprising is, again, I get it, but Sirianni benching a Saquon Barkley when he's so close to getting that record. Now, if I was a coach, I would at least let him play the first half, and if he breaks the record, great. If he doesn't, then sit him out for the rest of the game. I think that he should at least be given a chance for that opportunity, and maybe he will, just depending on how the score goes. But I did pick the Eagles for the win.
Philadelphia, for me, they're currently favored by 2.5 points at home.
Yeah, the interesting part about that, like you said, the whole thing with him sitting out, we got to talk about Barkley. And I get it. Look, if you don't want to take a chance, why not? So we'll see what happens with that. Now, next up on the docket, the NFC South, Bucks, a simple win in their in scenario. They face the Saints. Sid, you start this one.
The Buccaneers are currently favored by 14 points at home. The Saints looked like trash last week against the Raiders, and the Buccaneers took care of business last week at home against Carolina. Baker Mayfield's having a terrific year, along with their running back, Bucky Irving. Mike Evans, who's a future Hall of Famer. He needs, I believe, 85 more yards. Look at it, my math is correct, to get 1,000 yards, receiving yards for the year. He will do that. The Buccaneers got the division title on the line. they'll take care of business at home against the Saints in a rout.
As long as the duck is on the field, I think the Bucks have a pretty good shot of winning this game. So I'm going with Baker Mayfield and the Bucks.
Yeah, they got basically winning their scenario. Yeah, I think Tampa. If the Saints are, they are putting a little bit of effort, but yeah, they're thinking about Cancun or how the U.S. Virgin Islands, however you want to say it. So we'll see what happens here now. The Texans and the Titans. The Texans have not been playing very well because of injuries, and Shea Stroud has had a sophomore slump, and this and that. This might be another one of these ugly games. So I'm picking Houston, but like I said, don't be surprised if it's like a 9-6 or like 12-9 kind of deals here, or 12-6 or something. But I am picking Houston.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game to watch. I have Texans ? And I'm sticking with the Texans.
Oh, this is definitely a toss-up here. Call me a sucker, but I'm going with the Titans here. They're 1.5 favorite at home. Who knows if the Texans starters will play the whole game? If they do, it's really going to be a problem because they have a home playoff game next week because they're division champs. But I think the Titans will have enough just to squeak by. So I'm going with Tennessee.
Okay. Off to the 325 games. You got the Niners and the Cardinals. Christy, you start this one.
Hey, let me tell you, it's been a rough go around for these 49ers. I feel awful because they were riding such a big high for the last 4 seasons, and all of a sudden it feels like it's kind of crashing and burning a little bit. I think at this point, both teams, especially the 49ers, are playing for contracts, Brock Purdy being one of them for sure. I think he will get somewhat of a contract with the 49ers. It may not be what the number is that he had in mind that he'll be offered. But regardless of the size of the contract, he's definitely playing for it on Sunday. So I'm picking the 49ers.
Arizona for yours truly. They're currently favored by 5.5 at home.
Yeah, I'm picking San Fran. Like I said, I might regret that later, but look, I promised I wasn't going to pick Arizona anymore, so I have to stick to that promise. So yeah, I'm picking San Francisco.
Sticking to our word.
Yep. All right, so most of the nation will get this game. The Chiefs and the Broncos at Mile High. And what's interesting here is that the Chiefs really don't have much to play for. We know that, excuse me, we know that Carson Wentz will start for the Chiefs. The Broncos basically is simple. Well, depending on what happens, it's going to be winning their end. So I'm picking Denver. They were right there in the middle of. They probably should have won that first meeting. I'm picking Denver. They get a little nice bounce back win, and they will get into the playoffs. So I'm picking Denver in a close one.
Yeah, I picked the Broncos too. They have to win this game in order to get into the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to let this one slip by so easily. So Denver.
Make it 3 for 3. The Christine Manika household will be happy and celebrating by 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. I'm going with the Broncos too. They'll clinch their final playoff spot in the AFC, and they are favored by 10.5 at home.
All right, another NFC West matchup. The Seahawks and the Rams. The Rams are already in, so we'll see. If Sean McVay, if guys like Matt Stafford plays or Puka Nacua, we'll see if he plays or Kyron Williams or any of them play. Seattle, basically, look, you let that couple of those losses sort of slip away. So, you lost a spot because of tiebreakers. I'm picking the Rams, even though, they might have like their second stringers. A lot of them will be, starting. So, I'm picking the Rams.
Same here. I'm going with the Rams for this game.
Christine, your crush before you marry Chris, Jimmy Garoppolo will get to start. So we'll see if you'll be. Yeah. So Jimmy Garoppolo will get to start.
I can't wait. They've been known to bring quarterbacks before.
Yeah. So Jimmy Garoppolo will get to start in place of Matthew Stafford. Seattle, I don't know. I really don't know. So. But I'll jump in with the cool kids on this one. I'll go with the Rams as well. Seattle, even though they are favored by 6.5 on the road.
Jimmy G.
All right, the Chargers and the Raiders now. Well, the Chargers and the Raiders will be interesting with this one because they still gotta the Chargers really don't have much to. Well, I guess they do for seeding, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how kind of all this works. But yeah, the Raiders are not very good. I think they're on their way to probably vacation. We'll see if Antonio Pierce might be gone. So yeah, I'm picking the Chargers. Yeah, I think they'll win this game. Like I said, it might not be a good one, but I think they'll win this one.
Chargers are a fun team to watch, and we were watching them on what was it, a couple of Thursday nights ago with the Broncos, and it was tough to root for the Broncos for a hot second just because how fun it is to watch the Chargers and to see Jim Harbaugh just totally get into it again. I love it. And Chris, you just walked in the door. You want to show him what shirt you're wearing? I know what shirt he's wearing. That's why I wanted him to. Yes, there it is. All the Broncos. All the Broncos.
Very nice. Very nice.
All the Broncos. He wore that last week too. I'm gonna go with the Chargers for this one. They're fun to watch, and I hope they do well.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh could have been your head coach for the Chicago Bears, but that's a whole other issue for a whole
Don't
nother
remind
time.
me.
I know. But the Chargers are favored by 4 points on the road. I'll jump in the pool with the cool kids once again. I'm going with the Chargers.
All right. So you start this one here. You got the Dolphins and the Jets. It looks like Tua is not going to play again for the Dolphins. Basically, the Dolphins might be eliminated by the time this game starts. So yeah, you start this one.
And I think this is not a hard prediction to make, but this will be Aaron Rodgers' last game in a Jets uniform, perhaps in an NFL uniform, period. I think for that alone, I'll be the stupid one to step out. I'm going with the Jets.
Yeah, I think with or without Tua, this is a tough call. I'm going with my gut, and I'm sticking with my pick, the Dolphins, just because I'm sure the Jets just want this season to be over too, especially Devontae Adams. After all, he sacrificed to reunite with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Christine. I think I'm picking Miami too. It's just like at this point, the Jets are, again, we'll see. But yeah, this might be a bad game. Now, on the flip side, though, a great game perhaps for all the marbles, both for the NFC North and for the number one seed in the NFC. You got the Vikings and the Lions. Christine, you start this one.
What a season it's been for the Lions. Injuries after injuries. I think the one that kind of stings still a little bit is David Montgomery being out for the rest of the season. I mean, he played that entire game with his knee all banged up. That's incredible in itself, and it's kind of hard to comprehend that, but he pushed through it, and I think the Vikings stunned me last week with the Packers. Number one, I did not think that the Vikings were going to pull out that win with the Packers. But it just goes to show how tough the NFC North division is. It's the best division in the league this year. There's no question about it. I think somehow the Lions are going to overcome this game and they'll win. But it's definitely going to be a great matchup regardless. And they could very well see each other again in the postseason. So I'm going with the Lions for this one.
I'm going with Detroit as well. They're currently favored by 2.5 at home.
Oof. 2.5. So it's a pick. Yeah, I'm going to step out. I'm picking Minnesota. They're coming off a short week. I know Minnesota, no one had them at 14 wins already this year. I think they'll do it's going to be a close one. It's going to be kind of like back and forth. It could come down to a field goal too, and perhaps also playing indoors. I think Minnesota wins this one, just edging out and getting that number one seed and getting that week off that they'll probably need. But it should be a very entertaining matchup. Now, on the flip side, though, here you got the Bears and the Packers to finish up. Sid, you start this one for us.
Let's make it short and sweet. Is anybody on this panel picking the Bears? Going once?
Yeah.
Going twice? 3 times? 3.25? Anybody picking the Bears?
I thought about it for a hot second,
Case
but
settled.
I'm like, oh,
Green
no,
Bay
that's
it is.
crazy.
And they're favored by 10 at Lambeau.
I
Green
thought
Bay's
about it
favored
for a
by
hot
10 at
second.
Lambeau.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I did, and then I'm like, oh, that's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
So no, it's the Packers.
Yeah, the Packers, even without even look, I picked the Packers. Yeah, even if they end up having a lot of second stringers, but yeah, no, this will be over with soon. Now, listen, those are our picks for this week. Last week of the season. The regular season, I should say, in our NFL Week 18 picks. For the Second City Sports. Sports Chicago, Lakina McGee, City Brown with you, and our girl Christine Manika from KXRB'S. We got her for another couple more minutes. Real quick, Christine, Notre Dame beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. They advanced to the semifinals of the college football playoff. I know you were able to try to watch a little bit of it yesterday. So what did you think of it? Do you like their chance perhaps maybe going all the way to the championship game?
First of all, I remember when they were playing IU, and I had all the confidence in the world that they were going to win. And look what happened. Look what happened, ladies and gentlemen. They just got rolled over by the Fighting Irish. So here come the Irish. I'd say for the Peach Bowl, they have a very good chance, I think, of competing with Penn State, especially their defense. Their defense is just monster. I wish we had that defense and offensive line on the Bears, but I digress. And I just think it's going to be a great matchup there for Penn State and for the Fighting Irish. So let's go Irish.
Sid?
Yeah, Lakina and myself will recap those games coming up after the break. But one last question for me, Christine, since we have you. The Chicago Bulls will honor Derrick Rose tomorrow night when they host the New York Knicks. Neil Funk, the retired Bulls announcer from a few years ago, he'll be calling the game tomorrow night. What's your favorite Derrick Rose memory?
Boy, I was right at the start of the Derrick Rose era. I think one of my favorite moments, the energy that he brought to the stadium along with Joakim Noah. Even when he was down and out and injured, people would still get super excited to see him on the court. And I just remember seeing him and Joakim Noah together towards the end of both of their 10 years with the Bulls. And it's electric. I mean, yesterday he opened up a little pop-up flower shop for a couple of hours, just one day, and people still lined the streets for blocks, miles, to get a chance to see the Chicago hero pretty much. So I think it's great. I think that he definitely highlighted Chicago in the best way possible, and that's why people get so excited about him. So yeah, I remember just the energy he would always bring on and off the court and in the stands for the people, and I love that.
Yeah, it definitely did, and I think it was packed too at that pop-up shop. Probably being more crowded had the weather been more cooperative. So a lot of fun there. Now, Christine, I know you got a jet, so where people can find you on social media and all the other good stuff.
They can find me on Twitter at @CManika_KXRB.
All right, Christy. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll same time next. Different, your usual time next week, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, tell Chris and everybody we said hi, and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
No problem. All right,
Christine.
All right, that was our Christine Manika from KXRB. We'll recap, like I said, we'll recap the rest of the college football playoff games, the rest of the nice big win for Illinois, and also we'll recap the Winter Classic, even though the result wasn't very good for the Blackhawks, although it was still a great time by all, and so much more. Yeah, I know. Lakina McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. College football playoff and more coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the first show for the new year in 2025. We're locked and loaded in live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. If you have any last-minute questions or comments for us as we get into college football playoff talk and wrapping it up with the NHL's Winter Classic, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Speaking of, we'll start with yesterday's game. Of course, this was rescheduled due to the attack down there in the Big Easy. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the folks there. Of course, Notre Dame pretty much dominated 23-10 over Georgia. Gunnar Stockton in a losing effort had 234 yards, but just couldn't get it going on offense. Threw a couple of interceptions. Riley Leonard, a couple of TD passes for them for the Irish. Incidentally, it seems like the Irish are a completely different team since losing to Northern Illinois. They will face Penn State, and on next Thursday. So we're interested to see what happens in the Orange Bowl, but I'm it's going to be, like I said, we'll preview that game on Monday. But yeah, nice win for the Irish against Georgia.
We said Georgia was vulnerable this season, but I thought, I'll just speak for myself, I thought that they were turning around, but at the time Georgia would turn around. But we talked about the Irish defense being top 10 all year long, and you mentioned the offense isn't great, but the whole saying goes: offense wins, sells tickets, defense wins championships. So that's what's happening with the Fighting Irish right now. Georgia, with Carson back, didn't have a great game. I know their star wide receiver, Mr. Arian Smith, didn't have a great game either. They only had one catch for 67 yards, but Georgia was very limited on offense. They really couldn't run the ball. it seemed like Notre Dame knew what Georgia was going to run every time they lined up at the line of scrimmage, and it was a classic performance by the Irish defense. And that, like you said, we'll preview the game in its entirety on Monday. But even though I don't like them personally, but taking my personal feelings out of it, I give them a fighting chance. No pun intended against Penn State next Thursday.
Should be interesting to see. It's going to be about setting the tone early on if you're Penn State. So, we'll get to all that on Monday. Texas, you thought it was going to be a laugher, but yeah, Arizona State, they came back. Couple of calls that you probably wonder, could have went the other way for Arizona State, but Texas did hold them off. 39-31. Quinn Ewers had 322 yards and a couple of TDs, including rushing TDs. Cam Skedaboo had 143 yards, rushing yards to help get the Sun Devils back in it, but just too much Texas.
Also, too, let's give Matthew Golden, the star wide receiver for Texas, a big hand. He had a great performance, 7 catches for 100 in the score. Lakina, we talk about offense, selling tickets, as I mentioned a moment ago about Notre Dame and their defense. Give Arizona State credit. You thought they had opportunities to win this game, and they did. In that fourth quarter, they did a nice job of them fighting back hard just to force overtime, but Texas was too much for them. And I know some people say, well, the college football playoff isn't really necessary because those bottom feeder teams or those major school teams that got in, like Boise State, which we'll talk about in a minute, they don't deserve to be in there. They really got exposed by the bigger teams. But give Arizona State credit. They belonged in there with the big boys, just that the Longhorns made more and more big play than they did.
Yeah, they did. And actually ended up being a thriller, too. But yeah, Arizona State, I think they got a nice thing going here. Of course, this was a team that actually was supposed to finish last in the Big 12. That's what they voted, but that's why they play the game. So they ended up winning the Big 12 and go into the playoff. So, but as for the Rose Bowl, Ohio State just hammered Oregon, dominated from jump, 41-21. Will Howard had 319 yards and 4 TDs. Travion Henderson had 94 rushing yards. Tez Johnson in his last game. Of course, you guys remember Bo Nix, his brother, as if you will. If you guys saw the story that Mari Smith had on game day, it looks like maybe we'll see them as a reuniting in Denver. We'll see what happens. But nice, classy moment by him. He actually waited for Will Howard to do all his interviews, so he can congratulate him. That was a really nice, classy move there. Ohio State, I mean, I don't know what happened. Maybe they should. I don't know. Maybe they should put on. Maybe Texas should put on Michigan uniforms, because see, that's the only thing. Because it's like there's a completely different team. It says they lost to Michigan.
Yeah, you mentioned what they lost to Michigan about a month ago. They walk them up, and we'll actually walk out the office. You saw what they did against Tennessee in the first round matchup, putting up, I believe it was 21 first quarter points. They put up 14 first quarter points against Oregon here in that Rose Bowl game. With Ohio State, if they do what they're supposed to do in terms of offense, this is what the team that we expected them to look like, and that's what we saw on Wednesday at the Rose Bowl. That's where we what we watched in these last 2 games. Travion Henderson, I know there's scouts know way more better NFL talent than I do, but I think that young man can play on Sundays. We talk about Ashton Genty. We'll get to him in a minute. Also another run back that will play on Sundays. But Travion Henderson, I know he's been splitting time with Judkins all year long. Both of them had over 800 yards rushing for the year. But Henderson was the man for the Buckeyes in the rushing game, especially late in that first half, which basically put the game away with that long touchdown run. Dylan Gabriel in Oregon just really could get it going. I know they had that touchdown. They scored that touchdown toward the end of that first half. And I know they scored the touchdown to begin the second half, but the Ducks defense just got shelled. Ohio State, give their defensive coordinator credit. They knew what Oregon was going to run. They were prepared for it. Dylan Gabriel was basically running for his life. He really couldn't run anywhere upwards. He was running backwards and sideways. And Oregon's offense really just couldn't sustain momentum throughout the game. Give Ohio State's offense credit, but it's that defense that should really get most of the credit.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see that matchup with Texas coming up. Like I said, we'll get to all that, on Monday. But at the Fiesta Bowl, it was really all Penn State for the most part, 31-14 over Boise State. Drew Eller had 3 TD passes, and also the rushing attack. Now, Ashton did get his 104 rushing yards, but he really couldn't get it going. Ketron Allen and Nicholas Singleton had a combined almost like 211 rushing yards combined, and Maxon, 3 receptions for him for Boise. Tyler Warren, who was one of those big tight ends. If you guys haven't seen him play this year, you're going to be seeing him against Notre Dame. That's going to be an interesting person for them to stop. He's big, he's like big and strong, and he had 2 of those 3 TD passes. It was all Boise State made a lot of mistakes, but Penn State did what they wanted to do. They slowed down Genty. They kind of limited him. They forced Masson to throw, and he wasn't able to do anything. So give Penn State credit.
As we talked about with Ohio State just a moment ago, a hot start to the first quarter. What did Penn State in? And you mentioned they limited the pass attempts to Ashton Genty in, and they neutralized them in the running game too as well. Most of Genty's runs comes out the first or second contact. You see that a lot in this game. And you also mentioned the self-inflicted wounds that Boise State committed as well throughout that game, but they really limited the running lanes of Genty. Like you mentioned, he barely got over 100 yards. So some of that was in garbage time. But Penn State, we talked about their defense too being top five ranked in the nation, and they showed it last Tuesday. So they earned that victory. It's going to be a great clash between them and Notre Dame next Thursday. Like you mentioned, we'll preview that game deeper on our next episode on Monday. But Penn State, they were the better team here. Congrats to Boise State on a great year, but Penn State were overall the better team. They played like it.
Yeah, so should be an interesting matchup between Penn State and Notre Dame. Like I said, we'll get more deeper into that going into next week. Some of the other bowl games, Iowa loses to Mizzou. Mizzou held them off in the Music City Bowl, 27-24. Michigan, despite being shorthanded, they beat Alabama again in the ReliaQuest Bowl, 19-13. Jalen Monroe in his last game, he ended up, he's going to the NFL. Probably could have been it for another year in college, but it is what it is. South Carolina loses to Illinois down in the Peach Bowl, the Cheez-It Peach Bowl. A little bit of talking between Shane Beamer and Brett Bielema, but Coach Beamer, I'm sure your dad gave you a little bit of a talking to. Take the points, twice that they decided to go for 4 and you go for it, and they came up with no points. So take the points, dude. As I'm sure his dad probably gave him a talking to afterwards. But a nice win for Illinois. 11 wins, I should say, for the first time for Illinois since you go all the way back to I think like the mid 2000s was the last time they even got close to that. So, but a nice season for Illinois.
Yeah, Josh McCray had a nice performance for the Fighting Illini. 13 carries, 114 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also, too, their wide receiver Hayne Beatty had 4 catches for 90 yards. The Illini defense really stretched itself out, especially in that second half in that shootout there with South Carolina. We knew it was going to be tough coming in, but I meant to say this on our last episode on Monday, but Luke Altmaier, who's coming back next year, he needs to have a good game. He didn't have the greatest of games, but he did just enough not turn the ball over for Illinois to hang on to that 4-point win.
Nice one for Illinois there. Louisville held off Washington in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. That was a thrilling game. And LSU beat Baylor at the Kinder's Texas Bowl, 44-31. From last night, the other game in the Gator Bowl, Ole Miss no trouble with Duke, 55-20. Jackson Dart, nice way to go out for his career at Ole Miss, 404 yards and 4 TD passes for them, as it was basically all Ole Miss all the time down there in Orlando. Now the rest of the bowl games, you got a couple today. You got North Texas and Texas State. The Texas Bowl, it's actually the First Responder Bowl down at Dallas. And you got Minnesota Vodtech and the Duke's Mayo Bowl down there in Charlotte. So the coaching, should Minnesota win, we might see PJ Fleck being dubbed with Mayo. So that's always interesting. And Saturday down to the Bahamas, and tomorrow morning down to the Bahamas. The Bahamas Bowl, you got Buffalo and Liberty. That's at 10 a.m. on ESPN2.
All right, and that's your schedule for the rest of the bowl games for this year. no, for this weekend as we close in on the bowl season. As Lakina mentioned, we give you the previews for the remaining two national semifinal games. That'll be next week on Second City Sports. Speaking of Second City Sports, you're listening to us live in 11 color right now on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. We still have a few minutes left. Let's discuss let's do that hockey, Lakina, as the NHL's Winter Classic commenced on Tuesday, New Year's Eve. The Chicago Blackhawks, they get dominated by the St. Louis Blues 6-2 at Wrigley Field. Cam Fowler, no, not the golfer, but the St. Louis defenseman played in his 1,000th game, scored 2 goals. Lakina, the Blackhawks got dominated. Connor Bedard didn't do anything in terms of scoring. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. I fell asleep early in that third period. But just a couple of takes that I want to discuss with you. I don't know if you caught the broadcast, but great job by TNT through their pregame, through the intermissions, and throughout their game coverage. I will give them an A++ throughout. Shout out to Chicago's very own Chance the Rapper. He had a heck of a performance at the first intermission. He performed a melody of his hits and really got the crowd going there at Wrigley Field. I know he does a lot for the community of Chicago too, so I'm very proud of him for that. So he put on a heck of a performance, but I'll give TNT a thumbs up. I don't know if you caught it, Lakina, at the beginning of their broadcast. They brought many of the former Second City alum actors and actresses that were on Saturday Night Live in the late 80s, early 90s, like not Tina Fey, but Jeff Garland and some of the other former SNL alums to bring in the Winter Classic. I thought that was awesome. Showing showing off the city of Chicago, and a great broadcasting crew with Darren Payne. I know he does the Hawks for CHSN, but he also does TNT as well. Of course, Chicago's very own Southsider Eddie Olczyk and Kenny Albert. All three of those gentlemen did a great job.
Yeah, they really did, even though the results wasn't very good. But but yeah, I think they're 0-4. I'm talking about the Blackhawks are in Winter Classic games. So unfortunately, they're not very good in outdoors either. But it was nice, like how they put it together. It was really cool how they kind of set it all up. So yeah, I thought it was a solid. The coverage was really good for TNT and very well called, and yeah, I think it's just sort of definitely one of those things where you're just like, this is why they keep doing the Winter Classic. So they didn't have to worry about having to go against football. Well, not NFL football anyway. So yeah, that was a nice thing for them. But like I said, not a good showing by the Blackhawks. But again, the setup, it looked the ring looked beautiful in the winter time, and everyone they had a good time. It's with the exception of the results.
Yeah, and shout out to our girl Alyssa Bergamini, who was one of the hosts for the Winter Classic at Wrigley Field. I saw some of her stuff on her social media page. She did a great job, so thumbs up to you, girl. Also, too, I watched the NHL Network, their pregame show. Gary Bettman, the NHL commissioner, was on there. He was talking about the Four Nations tournament that's going to take place in February because, the NHLers are not going to the Olympics this year, the Winter Olympics this year. He was talking about that. I think another question that was brought up to him that I teased at the beginning of the show: should the NHL Winter Classics be rescheduled till New Year's Eve instead of New Year's Day? Because you mentioned this year, college football is their main competition. The NFL wasn't there this year. It depends on what day it lands on, but I think the NHL should consider. I know Gary Bettman gave the basic BSPR answer. He's like, we'll see what happens going forward. That's something we may consider, blah, blah, blah. But in your opinion, should the NHL Winter Classic stay on New Year's Day or move to New Year's Eve?
I don't know. They're kind of stuck, between a rock and a hard place talking about the NHL. So, like I said, it all depends on what day it lands. I mean, you have to worry about, the big, especially with the college football playoff now kind of being a thing here. Incidentally, all four all the top 4 seeds lost, who got by. So we'll, go figure with that one. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe New Year's Eve might be the best, for them. I know that, I have to worry too much about, some of the other stuff, but unless you land on a Saturday or a Sunday, I don't. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're the NHL, you need something to kind of get the buzz going. So you're not going to have the whole stage to yourself. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does from here on out. Because like I said, it's really going to be about time and place and how it's all set up.
Yeah, and also too, we mentioned about that Four Nations tournament, which is going to start next month. Is I believe after the All-Star weekend. 4 nations will compete. I know a couple of games will be in Boston, I believe, and the others will be in, outside of the U.S. I'm really looking forward to this, Lakina. I tell people all the time that are casual watchers of hockey, outside the Stanley Cup playoffs, the best competition of hockey that you're going to get is the Olympics, because they're playing for their country. They lay it out on the line, and sometimes it's even more intense than the Stanley Cup playoff, which I think is still the best postseason tournament in all professional sports. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do this 4 nations tournament here, which starts next month.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because Canada is definitely going to be one of the favorites. You got Sweden, you got the U.S., so it's going to be interesting to kind of like all this sort of stuff. So like I said, no NHL players are playing, but these are kind of like rising stars and such. So it'll be interesting to see like who kind of like stands out. We may be seeing these guys at an NHL team near you coming up.
Yep. All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina here with you for another few more minutes. Have the ratings come out for the Winter Classic yet? Because it had more scoring than it did last year with the Vegas and the Seattle Kraken with that 1-0 boring contest. I don't know if the ratings will come out yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen any ratings just yet. It might come on right after we get off. So yeah,
as usual.
Yeah, that's how it usually is. But yeah, well, it should be interesting though. Like I said, we'll see. But yeah, we're just see kind of like how that kind of plays out. And a couple of breaking news here. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has officially declared tomorrow, January 4th, Derrick Rose Day, of course, as it's being honored over at the UC. So January, tomorrow is Rose Day. It's Saturday, so yeah, so no days off. Well, kids are already still off until Monday, but you get to off on a Saturday. So number 1 jerseys all around for folks in Chicago. Also, too, according to our buddy Mark Grody from 670 The Score, Tevin Jenkins is out for that game against the Packers. Also, Elijah Hicks and Travis Homer. Larry Bourne was a full participant, so he's playing, and so is Kyler Gordon. Roman Dunes, he's again a full participant after getting over an illness. So, just some breaking news there as well.
Not to be the pessimistic jerk, but I think Tevin Jenkins may have played his last game in the Bears uniform. I'm just saying. I really like him personally, but the injury bug has really played him over the last couple of years. So I know he's a free agent this offseason. So I think if it's GM Ryan Pauls or somebody else, they're gonna wave him bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't think that's good. Yeah, I don't think that goes without saying. So that's not a unpopular opinion. I think some people probably feels the way you do. So we'll see what happens there. Trying to see, is there anything else we could talk about before we disperse?
I found our answer, Lakina, about the ratings for the NHL Winter Classic. According to Alex M. Silverman on Twitter, is a verified account. The TV viewership in the U.S. for the NHL's Winter Classic fell below 1 million for the first time, according to Sports Business Journal colleague Austin Karp. The Blackhawks and Blues game on New Year's Eve averaged about 920,000 viewers across TNT and True TV.
Yeah, a little disappointing. I guess as you're up against football games, and also too, neither team's been playing very well this year. So yeah, that kind of goes down the range a little bit. So yeah, I can kind of see why the Rays being a little bit lower than usual.
But it's still the most viewed game in the NHL this regular season game viewed in the NHL this season.
Yeah, that's
so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So you can it depends on how you look at it. So definitely. Going back to college football for a second, I want to give a shout out to Naperville's North Central College. They're going for their 5th straight national championship tomorrow, and it's going to be on ESPN, I believe. So they're going for number 5, their 5th straight, and they're going to be going against a team that kind of started has their own dynasty in Mountain Union. That should be a fun one. That's going to be interesting to see. But good luck to to North Central, and hopefully they can bring home another championship.
Yep. Good luck to those players as they'll play that contest coming up. All right, Lakina, a couple more minutes before we get up out of here. Your favorite Derrick Rose moment or memory as the Bulls will salute him tomorrow night at the UC?
Oh, of course, that buzzer beater in Game 1 against Miami. the playoffs. That's probably one of my favorite moments for him in a Bulls uniform. Now, of course, Miami would end up winning this, winning 4 straight, ended up winning the series. But hey, but again, it was a great moment. The UC was rocking that night, and you're kind of sort of stuck wondering like what might have been, I guess, if in that respect.
Of course, outside of him winning the 2011 MVP and thanking his mom, I think she still has that trophy, by the way,
yes.
At her residence. January, I think this. Well, what do you know? This is in a couple of weeks. This will be the 15-year anniversary of this play. It was nationally. It was on ESPN, but I remember this call on locally on CHSN Chicago, CSN Chicago. CHSN Chicago. Neil fucking CC on the call. It was the Chicago Bulls on their West Coast road trip at the Phoenix Suns. Gordon Dragic decided to meet Derrick Rose at the rim. Derrick Rose had a 2-handed hammer over him.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm sure. Yeah,
I remember Stacey King's call. He was. You can catch it on YouTube. You don't know.
Oh yeah. So yeah. I think he still has nightmares about that one. Dragic does. So yeah, that was a pretty nice moment.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think he will get into the Hall of Fame. I think because of his accomplishments in high school and of course winning 2 state titles. That's Simeon, and also of course leading Memphis. Yeah, I know it doesn't count, but it still does. It's in the record books. Leading them to the national championship game. Of course, they lost to Mario Chalmers and Kansas, but I think he had a great career, overall basketball career. So again, the Basketball Hall of Fame, as I always say, it doesn't just honor your pro career, but also your entire basketball career. So I think he will get into the Hall of Fame eventually. He may have to wait a couple years. I don't think he'll be first ballot, but I think this will definitely lightens his chances for that.
Yeah. Also, too, they count your international in your Olympic career as well. So
he does have a gold medal. Yep.
Yeah, and so let's keep that in mind. All right, Lakina, anything else before we disperse for the weekend?
Well, the 15 modern era finalists for this year's Pro Football Hall of Fame were announced. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on Monday, but yeah, among some of the names, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Eli Manning, Steve Smith, Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, he better get in, and Reggie Wayne. There's a class of 15. Those are some of them, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. But you thought that maybe Torrey Holt should get in. He's the only one of that Greatest Show on Turf that's not in for the St. Louis Rams. So everyone else is already in. So yeah, you gotta hope that maybe he gets in right now. Eli Manning is gonna be interesting because of course he has those 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, both being the Patriots. So if anything, that might help him get into the Hall of Fame. And I think Reggie Wayne, and also Fred Taylor, I think, there's been a lot of lobbying for him, for the last couple of years. So, yeah, I think it should be his year to get in, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you with Eli Manning. He always had this thought when he retired. I know he finished his career as a 500 quarterback, but he beat Tom Brady twice head-to-head in the Super Bowl, did win an MVP. So, because of his name and what he did in those Super Bowls for the Giants back in 2007 and 2011, he'll get in. He's a shoo-in. I'll be surprised if he isn't, but he'll get in on his first round. I agree with you with Torrey Holt. I've been saying it for the last 2 or 3 years. He has the numbers to get in. Isaac Bruce is in. Kurt Warner's in. Marshall Faulk is in. No doubt Hall of Fame is there. Torrey Holt should get in as well. And I think Steve Smith Sr., I don't know if he's on that list, Lakina, but for Carolina. But if he doesn't get in this year, if he doesn't get in next year, something's wrong. Will he be this era's Chris Carter? He has to wait for 10 years for him to get in.
Yeah, that's kind of bonkers there. Now, of course, a couple of the senior finalists, you got, of course, Sterling Sharp and also Mike Holmgren. So one or two of those guys will get in from the Veterans Committee. So we'll see what happens there. But now the official class will be announced during Super Bowl week. So it should be interesting to see who gets in there. But yeah, it should be interesting. But yeah, just want to give that out there too. So yeah, I'm done. Anything else that you want to say before we disperse?
Nope, take us home.
All right, you follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X and again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG, SCK80. Once again, it's SCK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media. PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Mia a follow at WARR Mia on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And you can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on those social media channels. So, yeah, it's all right there for you. And, yeah, you can replay them anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And hope you guys have a great first week of the new year. And, of course, I know there's going to be a winter storm coming this way. How ironic here in the Midwest going into the Mid-Atlantic. But, yeah, so everybody be safe out there. Enjoy all the great sports. That's going to be coming up this weekend. I love this time of year. Maybe not the weather, but the sports time is the sports calendar is good. So for Sid, I'm Lakina. Be safe out there, folks. This has been Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. We'll see you guys next week.
Go Bears. Go home. Holla.